My name's Natalie Green, 29, and I came home from a business trip to find all my things thrown across the front yard like trash. I froze when I saw a note jammed into my old hoodie. If you want to stay here, live in the basement. Rage followed fast. Ever since my dad died, my steps, Connor and Brianna, made it their mission to remind me I wasn't one of them. This question marked their final move. But they had no idea about the secret Dad and I had hidden all along. Drop a comment where you're watching from, and stick around to find out what happened 6 months later when they came knocking. To explain how I ended up picking soggy memories off the grass in the rain, I need to go back to the beginning. I was raised in that house on Sycamore Lane. Just me and Dad, Michael, after cancer took Mom when I was 4. For 8 years, it was just us. And honestly, those were the best years of my life. My dad, Michael Green, built his construction empire from the ground up, but he never let success get in the way of being my dad. Friday movie nights, Sunday pancakes, and never once missing a school play. That was our life. It was simple, it was steady, it was love. Then I turned 12 and everything shifted. Dad married Linda, and my world got split in two. At first, she played nice, tiny gifts, fake smiles, asking about my sketchbook. I bought into it. I wanted to believe she cared. Looking back, the switch was instant. Once the vows were said, she stopped pretending. She brought her kids, Connor, 14, and Brianna, 10, and suddenly, our house wasn't mine anymore. From the start, the house had sides. She spoiled her kids, and I became a background character in my own life. Dinner? They got seconds while I was still eating. Their birthdays meant balloons, bounce houses, and gift towers. Mine? Usually forgotten, until Dad came home with cake and a rushed smile. Christmas made it obvious. Even the neighbors noticed the uneven piles under the tree. Dad tried to balance it. Special gifts from his trips, spontaneous dinner dates, just us. But Linda hated it. She acted like I was stealing attention from her real family, like I was a threat, not a kid. Through it all, Dad and I stayed close. He was my anchor. At 16, he began teaching me everything: how money worked, how to grow it, how to protect myself. Natalie, he'd say, money knowledge is freedom. Learn it, own it. He opened an investment account in my name, sat me down, and made Wall Street feel like home economics. By 18, that account was no joke, enough to make me feel secure. I picked a school 3 hours away, for the program sure, but mostly to breathe. I called him twice a week, visited monthly, only when Linda and her kids were gone. That was our unspoken routine. Senior year, Dad's company hit it big. Major contracts, new money. He was on fire. He expanded into real estate, started building a sleek luxury tower downtown. On visits home, he'd show me the blueprints. Not just buildings, he said. It's about creating places where life happens. After graduation, I landed a job at a marketing firm and shared an apartment with my college roommate. I could have lived alone. The account was solid, but I wanted to save for my own house someday. And honestly, living with someone made post-grad life a little less quiet. Then, 3 years ago, everything unraveled. Dad called me one Tuesday out of the blue, asked to meet for lunch. His voice wasn't right. I knew something was wrong. He swore it was nothing. The second I saw him at our usual spot, I knew. His face, his eyes, something was very wrong. Dad looked thinner, grayer. Before I could say a word, he said quietly, "Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. My stomach dropped. The world just shifted. It was already too late. They gave him 6 to 12 months. He made it to 8. I scaled back at work. I wasn't going to waste a minute. Every second with him mattered. Linda cried. I'll give her that. But Connor and Brianna? Cold. Obsessed with who got what before he was even gone. 1 month before he passed, Dad called me to his office. Just me. He handed me a box with a key, some papers, and a look that said everything. I've made arrangements. he said, barely louder than a breath. The house will go to Linda. In theory, it's for all three of you, but I know what they're like when I'm not around. This key, it's your backup plan. When Dad passed, the will played out just like he said. Linda got the house and a big life insurance check. Connor and Brianna got trust funds locked until 30. I got part of the business. Dad's partner would manage it until I was ready to take over. No mention of the key. That secret stayed just between us. I wore it every day, close to my heart. Waiting, like Dad told me. I stayed in the house out of guilt, maybe hope, and to look after Linda. Her health started slipping not long after Dad passed. I paid rent. A lot of rent. Later I found out it was way more than fair. Connor had a manager job at some retail chain. Brianna couldn't hold one for more than a few months, but they ruled the house like it was theirs alone. As Linda weakened, they tightened their grip. Every decision, every rule, they controlled it all. The tension turned sharp. Snide turned into mean. But I stayed. Dad wanted unity, and I wanted to believe that was still possible. Then came the San Francisco trip. After 3 years at my firm, I was finally promoted. Senior consultant, big clients, big deal. This trip was everything. We were closing our biggest client yet. Everything went right. We signed the deal, celebrated with dinner. I flew home feeling proud. I had no idea that while I was in boardrooms and banquets, my step-family was scheming. The taxi turned onto the street, and I smiled. Until I saw it. I had no idea what was waiting for me. The driver glanced at the mess. "Hey, miss. Is that your stuff?" I stared out the window, confused. Clothes, books, furniture. My stuff, dumped across the yard like a storm had hit only my room. "This can't be real," I whispered, paid the fare, and stepped into a drizzle that felt colder than it should have. My hands shook as I bent down, lifting a photo album, pictures of me and Dad already soaked through. The ink blurred. So did my eyes. The water ruined the memories before I even got to say anything. I grabbed a soggy box of office supplies. Taped to it was a note in thick black marker. "Live in the basement or leave. Your call." I stood frozen, soaked, until Connor opened the door, arms crossed, smirking. Brianna trailed behind, her grin unmistakably smug. "Took you long enough," Connor sneered. "We were about to call a junk service." "What the hell is this?" I snapped, heart pounding. "Why is my stuff out here? Where's Linda?" Brianna stepped in like this was some business pitch. "Mom's moving to a care home. We're turning the house into a duplex." "Connor's got the first floor. I get the top," she continued. "You can fix up the basement or, hit the road." "You've lost your minds," I said, glancing at my life drowning in the rain. "I live here. I pay rent. You can't just throw me out." "Actually, we can," Brianna snapped. "The house is in Mom's name, and we have power of attorney. She agrees, it's time for change." I didn't buy it for a second. Linda's mind was slipping, and I knew they were manipulating her while she faded. "I want to speak to Linda," I said, trying to push past. Connor stepped in. "She's resting, and frankly, she's tired of you leeching off her generosity." "Charity?" I nearly choked. "I pay $1,200 a month, plus utilities and groceries. You two don't even cover your own snacks." "Whatever," Brianna said, waving me off. "You've got till tonight. Basement or gone. Anything left out tomorrow, trash pickup." As if that wasn't enough, neighbors were watching, curtains peeled back, phones in hand. Mrs. Carlson stood on her porch, phone aimed right at us. She'd seen it all. Down the block, some teens had pulled over on their bikes, enjoying the show. Then came the gut punch. My laptop and my jewelry box were gone. My laptop, everything for work, gone. So was the antique jewelry box Dad gave me at 16. And the last pieces of Mom I had left. "Where are my things?" I demanded, holding back tears with pure anger. Connor shrugged. "Could be in a box. Could have gotten lost. Things happen." The tone was so casual it made my skin crawl. His smirk told me everything. They did this on purpose. I found the laptop later, in the shed, screen shattered, hard drive ripped out. I raced the rain trying to save what I could. Brianna trailed me like a shadow. I never got why Michael kept you around, she said bitterly. He should have sent you off to your real family. That hit hard, but I wouldn't give her tears, not one. My dad was my real family, I said calmly. And this house was mine before you ever stepped through the door. Well, it's ours now, she snapped. You were never family. I pulled out my phone and called Caitlin, the one person I could trust with everything. Caitlin picked up on the second ring. Hey Nat, how was San Fran? Kate, I choked. I need a place to stay. They dumped all my stuff outside. Locked me out. Wait, what? Connor and Brianna? Her voice jumped. You're kidding me. Get over here. Now I'll help you. Those two are monsters. While I waited, I grabbed what I could. Connor watched from the porch, smug like he'd just won something. Oh, by the way, he called out. If you stay in the basement, rent's $2,000 now, since you're doing so well and all. I spun around. You destroyed my things, kicked me out, and now you want me to pay you? You're out of your mind. His smirk vanished. Listen carefully, Natalie. Mom only tolerated you because Michael said so. Now he's gone. We're in charge. Play by our rules or get out. And don't even think of contesting anything. We've got legal papers. We're blood. You're not. That's when it clicked. They'd planned this. Probably for years. My business trip was the perfect moment to pull the trigger. Caitlin screeched to the curb, jumped out, and started grabbing my soaked things without a word. Unbelievable, she snapped. This is beyond cruel. They've been waiting to do this, I said, voice flat, anger curling low in my gut. I instinctively touched the chain around my neck, the key. Maybe this was the moment Dad meant. By the time we packed both her car and mine, the sky had turned dark. So much was ruined. Books swollen with rain, electronics fried, clothes soaked and stained. As we drove off, I looked back at that house. It didn't feel like home. It felt like enemy territory. I made a promise. I would never let them hurt me again. Later, wrapped in a blanket at Caitlin's place, I stared at the key, the one I'd worn for 3 years. It didn't look like a house key. It looked industrial, secure, important. I think it's time, I told her, and finally explained what Dad gave me before he died. A small metal tag read 1402R. Dad's papers had included a card for Riverview Towers, the luxury high-rise he'd built near downtown before he passed. No way, Caitlin whispered, eyes wide. I nodded. Only one way to know. The next morning, I drove to Riverview Towers, a sleek 20-story high-rise with marble floors and a doorman in a navy suit. My chest tightened as I walked to the front desk. Part of me thought they'd tell me I didn't belong. Good morning, I greeted the silver-haired concierge, trying to sound confident. I'm Natalie Green. My father, Michael Green, might have left something here for me. His face softened the moment he heard it. Ms. Green, we've been expecting you. Your father talked about you constantly while this place was going up. He extended his hand. I'm Walter, head concierge. Your father was one of a kind. Walter made a call, and moments later, a kind woman in her 50s appeared. Patricia, the building manager. Natalie, it's lovely to finally meet you, she said warmly. Your dad said you'd come. He left this for you. She passed me an envelope, my name written in Dad's unmistakable script. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was his voice, captured in ink. My dearest Natalie, if you're reading this, then the time has come to use the key I gave you. I feared that, after I'm gone, things might become difficult at the house. So I built this place. For you. Riverview Towers was my final project, and I poured everything into it. Apartment 1402 is yours. Paid in full. HOA and taxes covered for 10 years. A piece of me that will always protect you. I hoped you wouldn't need this right away. I hoped the family could hold. But I also believe in being prepared. This is your sanctuary, Natalie. No one can take it from you. Always, Dad. Tears spilled before I even finished reading. Patricia gently handed me a tissue. He was meticulous about every detail, she said softly. He made this apartment just for you. Walter walked me to the elevator and pressed 14. When the doors opened, we stopped in front of Unit 1402. Welcome home, Miss Green, he smiled as I turned the key. The door opened and my breath caught. It was perfect. Huge windows wrapped the space, overlooking the skyline and winding river. Morning light poured in over polished wood floors and elegant, cozy furniture. I walked in a daze. This was mine. The kitchen gleamed, stone counters, top-tier appliances, a dining table for 6. Dad imagined me hosting, laughing, living. The bedroom had a walk-in closet and a bathroom with a deep soaking tub. The second room, a home office, with a desk facing the river. But what hit me hardest? He knew me. Every detail. Soft blues and sea greens. My favorite colors. The bookshelves were filled with my favorite authors, and photos of Dad and me I hadn't seen in years. On the desk, a photo of us at graduation. He was grinning like I'd hung the moon. He spent weeks on this, Walter said. He wanted it to feel like home the second you opened the door. In the closet, my size, my style. Simple, sharp, exactly me. The fridge and pantry were already stocked. Dad had even thought of groceries. He didn't just give me a place. He gave me peace. Before leaving, Walter handed me a welcome packet. All the numbers, names, and amenities are in here. This packet has the building directory, amenity hours, and emergency numbers, Walter said. We have a gym, pool, community lounge on the 3rd floor, and monthly socials if you'd like to meet neighbors. Alone, truly alone, I sank into the soft couch. This was mine. All of it. My father had built me a sanctuary, knowing what might happen once he was gone. And still, I'd stayed in that house, out of guilt, out of loyalty, while this oasis stood waiting. That afternoon, I went back to Caitlin's place to get the things we'd saved. I have my own place, I told her, still stunned. Dad bought it for me before he passed. Wait, what? That's amazing, Caitlin gasped. Why didn't you move sooner? I just shook my head. I'd been asking myself that too. I thought keeping the family together was what he'd want, but maybe he knew exactly how it would fall apart. Caitlin nodded. He knew them better than you did. In the days that followed, I slowly began building a new life. I even went back, dumpster diving behind the house when Connor and Brianna were out, to recover what I could. Some things were ruined, but I saved the essentials: photo albums, documents, the little pieces of my past. On one trip, I found a waterproof container I'd forgotten I'd made, backups of my work files. It saved my job. The most surreal part? I'd been paying $1,200 in rent to live with people who hated me while owning a luxury apartment. The irony stung. I was supporting people who had tossed my life on the lawn. A week later, I met Harold Greenfield, my father's attorney, whose card I'd found among Dad's papers. I was wondering when you'd reach out, he said with a knowing smile. Your dad told me not to contact you. Said you'd come when it mattered, and he had. The apartment wasn't the only thing my dad had left me. I now owned 40% of his construction firm. The rest went to his partner and some longtime staff. The company was doing well, really well. Dividends had been quietly piling up in my name. But the real jaw-dropper? Dad had been covering the bills at the family house, from business accounts under my name. Those payments were legally mine to manage. I could stop them whenever I wanted. Your father wanted everyone cared for, Harold said. But he was clear, you're in control now. I left his office stunned, but steady, a quiet, careful plan forming. I wouldn't pull the plug yet, not for Linda. She was sick, and unlike her kids, had never thrown me to the wolves. I decided to slowly withdraw support, forcing Jason and Brooke to finally handle their own bills. That night, in my quiet high-rise with the city glowing below, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. As I fell asleep, I imagined Dad still watching over me. He had given me exactly what I needed, just when I needed it most. Monday, I met with Harold again to put my financial plan into action. I need to know exactly what I'm still paying for, I told him. He pulled up the records. $3,200 for mortgage, $600 for utilities, plus quarterly taxes and yearly insurance. On top of that, $2,500 went monthly to household groceries and maintenance. I couldn't believe how much I was covering. I was funding over $7,000 monthly for a house that kicked me out, plus $1,200 in rent to them. Harold nodded. Your father meant well. He never imagined they'd betray you. What about Linda's health costs? Those are covered by a separate policy he set up, Harold assured me. I laid out my plan. First, rent payments stop, obviously. Second, reroute my 40% share to my personal account, no more shared fund. Third, phase out household support over 3 months. Harold jotted it all down. Month 1, keep mortgage and utilities, cut the household fund by 50%. Month 2, halve the mortgage and utilities. Month 3, cut everything except a small allowance for Linda's care, sent directly to her providers. That gives them time to adjust, I said. They'll have to grow up, find jobs, downsize, whatever. That's generous, Harold agreed. Most would have pulled the plug right away. This isn't revenge, I told him. It's about setting boundaries. Keeping the support going only feeds the problem. With the plan in place, I turned toward rebuilding. The apartment was move-in ready, but I needed new electronics and personal stuff. The redirected funds covered everything with ease. I got a new laptop, turned the second bedroom into a home office, and built a new routine. Free from family tension, I was more focused and creative than ever. My client list grew, and I started thinking, maybe it was time to launch my own agency. Moving into Riverside opened a new world. It was the community my father had always envisioned. My neighbors, Robert and Elaine Johnson from 1403, invited me over my first week and shared memories of my dad during the building's construction. Over lasagna, Elaine smiled. Your dad talked about you constantly. He was so proud. Across the hall, Jasmine Chin, a busy pediatric surgeon, still made time for community events. We bonded over our shared work ethic and obsession with true crime podcasts. On the 12th floor, I met Michael Reeves, the 32-year-old architect who had helped design Riverside with my dad. A chat in the elevator led to coffee, then to regular morning runs by the river. For the first time in years, I was forming real connections. No guilt, no baggage. The contrast with my life at the family house was staggering. 3 weeks in, I got the first sign my financial plan was working. Connor called. I ignored it. Then came a text. The mortgage is late. What's going on? Call me. I called him back the next day during lunch. Why's the mortgage late? He barked. Nice to hear from you too, I said evenly. I've redirected my share of business profits. I'm not covering house expenses anymore. You can't, he snapped. That's for the house. I can. I own 40%. And since you threw my stuff on the lawn, I don't live there. Where are you even living? He asked. Not your business, I replied. But paying the mortgage? That's yours now. I've given you 2 months of partial support. After that, you're on your own. His angry rant said it all. I hung up, blocked him, and got back to work. Oddly calm. Brianna went online, calling me a selfish, ungrateful stepsister. Friends reached out. I simply shared the facts and a photo of my things dumped on the lawn. Public opinion turned quickly against Connor and Brianna. Over the next few weeks, I tightened security. Walter and his team were told to deny Connor and Brianna entry under any circumstances. I forwarded my mail and scrubbed any public record linking me to Riverside. Their outburst over the money showed they weren't above harassment. After a month, I felt safer and more grounded than I had in years. I set up a full home office, joined the gym and pool, and started going to resident socials. One evening on the balcony, watching the river glow in sunset, a deep truth hit me. This place wasn't just an apartment. It was my father's final gift, his love and foresight made real. He gave me a fresh start, a space to build a life on my own terms. For the first time since losing him, I felt at peace. In a way, he was still caring for me. 3 months in, my life had completely changed. I left my firm and launched Wilson Creative Solutions, working mostly from home with meetings downstairs. Self-employment let me choose fulfilling clients and creative projects. My social circle grew, neighbors, fellow entrepreneurs, and old colleagues who joined my new venture. Michael and I began dating. Slowly, naturally, our connection deepening each day. As I thrived, updates about my stepfamily trickled in. Mrs. Carlson, our kind old neighbor, called one afternoon with an update. "Melanie, I don't mean to intrude," she said gently, "but there's a past due notice on the door. It looks bad." I wasn't shocked. My support had ended, but it confirmed Connor and Brianna couldn't keep up. A week later, a colleague told me Connor got fired from the retail chain. He'd been late, rude to customers, and blamed others. His boss finally let him go. Brianna wasn't doing much better. Friends said she'd been hopping from job to job, none lasting more than weeks. Her Instagram showed luxury spending, probably on credit, not income. Harold, still overseeing the household finances, gave me the latest update. The mortgage was 60 days overdue, taxes unpaid, utility bills piling up, and their car had just been repossessed. I asked about Diane, still caring despite our distance. Harold said her insurance remained active, but prescriptions hadn't been filled regularly. Signs of neglect from Connor and Brianna. It upset me. Diane might not have shown me warmth, but she deserved better. I worked with Harold to create a private fund for her personal care, handled directly by providers, hidden from Connor and Brianna. By month 4, the calls began. Unknown numbers, borrowed phones. I ignored them, but listened to the voicemails. "Melanie, it's Connor. The bank's threatening foreclosure. Restart the payments. Dad would have wanted this." "Brianna here, using Jen's phone. Let's talk. You can move back. The basement's not that bad. We're family." Each message screamed desperation, but never remorse. They still saw me as a wallet, not a person. By month 5, things worsened. Utilities shut off one by one, and foreclosure proceedings began. I stayed silent, pouring my energy into my business and fresh start. My firm thrived. Client referrals poured in. I hired an assistant and considered expanding further. Michael and I grew closer. His own messy family past made him empathetic. No judgment, only understanding. Over dinner, Michael asked what I'd secretly wondered. "Do you feel guilty about what's happening to them?" I paused, then answered, "I've asked myself that too. But I'm not causing this. I'm just not shielding them from their own choices. They're adults. It's time they act like it." "That's a mature view," Michael said, nodding. "It's not revenge. It's about drawing lines." Exactly. If they'd shown basic decency, even just let me pack my things with dignity, I might have kept helping. I was honoring my dad's wishes. But they made this mess. Nearing month 6, Harold updated me. Foreclosure was now certain. "The auction is set," he said, "and Connor and Brianna haven't made any housing plans." I felt a brief sting about the house, but it was just nostalgia for a time before Diane and her kids. It hadn't felt like home in years. That same week, an anonymous message came in. Brianna hired a PI to find you. They're blaming you. Be careful. Real or not, I wasn't taking chances. I alerted Walter, tightened my digital privacy, and replaced my business address with a secure P.O. box. Exactly 6 months after my eviction, I was heading home from a successful client dinner. Contract signed, business growing fast. I walked into the Riverside feeling proud, unaware Connor and Brianna were waiting inside, making one last desperate grab at what they still believed they were owed. The Riverside's calm lobby felt different that night. Walter wasn't smiling at the desk. He stood tensely beside 2 guards. Then I spotted them. Connor and Brianna, disheveled and drained. Connor looked haggard, unshaven, his shirt wrinkled. Brianna, once dressed to impress, now wore plain jeans and a sweater. Her grown-out roots peeked through faded highlights. They saw me before I could slip out. "Melanie!" Connor shouted as they lunged. Security stepped in fast. "Ms. Wilson," Walter said. "They claim to be family. They've been here nearly 3 hours. I was just about to call." "It's okay, Walter," I replied, voice calm. "I'll speak to them, just here in the lobby." Security kept close as we sat, not too far for privacy, but close enough for safety. "So this is your new hiding spot," Connor sneered, eyeing the marble floors. "Big step up from the house you ditched." "I didn't leave, I was kicked out. Remember my things on the lawn? That sweet basement note?" Brianna looked briefly ashamed. "We were grieving, we took it out on you. That was wrong." I ignored her excuse. "How did you find me?" Connor squirmed. "We paid someone. It cost a lot, but we had to find you before." "Before what?" I asked sharply. Brianna cut in. "The foreclosure's next week. We're losing everything. Mom's going to a state facility. We can't afford her care." "I'm sorry about Diane," I said sincerely. "But I've kept her medical care going. The house isn't my burden." "Of course it is," Connor snapped. Security inched forward. "Dad meant that house for everyone. You shut us out." "Dad wanted a respectful family. You made your choice when you dumped me," I said coldly. Brianna leaned in, syrupy sweet. "We made a mistake, but we're family. Dad would want unity." "Don't you dare use him to guilt me," I said, voice firm. "You didn't respect him then. You don't now." Connor shifted. "You've got space. We could move in. I'll find work. Brianna can help around." I was stunned. They tossed me out, and now wanted into the home I built alone. "Absolutely not," I said. "You're not moving in." "You selfish bitch," Connor spat. "You live in luxury while we're on the street. Is this Dad's dream?" "Dad wanted me secure. He bought this for me knowing who you were," I answered coolly. Brianna glared. "We're not leaving empty-handed. You owe us." "I owe you nothing," I said. "I helped for Dad, never for you." Connor rose. "Fine. We'll take what's ours. He gave you everything. We got scraps. This is justice." He headed for the elevators, clearly ready to barge into my home. Brianna ran after him, but security blocked them instantly. "You're not residents. No access allowed," a guard said firmly. "She's my stepsister. I belong here too," Connor yelled, trying to shove through. "Step back or we'll escort you out," another guard warned. True to form, Connor shoved one. Bad move. In seconds, guards restrained him. Walter calmly called the police. Brianna cried out, "Melanie, stop them. We're desperate." Their desperation didn't bring me satisfaction, only finality. "Leave now, peacefully, and I won't press charges." Connor, still held, stared daggers at me. "You think you're better? Dad only liked you because your sad mom died." Connor spat venomously. His words were meant to hurt, but I felt clarity instead. "Walter, escort them out. Flag their photos. They're never allowed back." As they were removed, a few neighbors approached. Jasmine gave me a hug. Robert and Elaine smiled gently. "They were awful," Jasmine said. "You all right?" "I will be," I replied, as Connor yelled and Brianna sobbed on their way out. At home, I called Harold about added security. He advised a restraining order. I agreed immediately. Also, he warned. Lock down your finances. They might try identity theft. I updated passwords and added account protections. Calls poured in from random numbers, clearly them. I blocked everyone. That night in bed, I thought about how far I'd come. 3 years ago, I'd sacrificed for peace, thinking Dad wanted that. Now I knew he wanted me strong, safe, and self-reliant. That lobby clash was ugly, but revealing. They'd shown their true selves, not just to me, but to the whole building. In trying to break into my sanctuary, they reminded me why I built it. As sleep came, I felt surprisingly at peace. Tomorrow meant court orders, security talks, and likely more desperate calls from Connor and Brianna. But for once, I felt ready. Dad hadn't just left me a home. He gave me the strength to set and keep boundaries. 2 weeks later, the court granted the restraining order. Connor and Brianna didn't show. Maybe they finally gave up or couldn't afford it. The order banned them from contacting me or coming near my home or work. With it secured, the tension finally eased. Through Harold, I set up care for Diane without their knowledge. I funded a trust to cover her nursing care directly. We were never close, but she was Dad's wife. He'd want her cared for. The house sold yesterday, Harold said at our monthly meeting. It sold below value, as foreclosures do, but it covered the mortgage. What about Connor and Brianna? I asked, more out of basic concern. Harold nodded. Connor was crashing with a friend. Brianna moved in with her boyfriend. Neither has steady work. Their hardships didn't please me, just felt inevitable. Their fall wasn't my win, just the result of their own choices. With the house gone and the order granted, my ties to them were finally cut. I felt relief and a brief sadness, not for what ended, but for what never really was. Meanwhile, my life bloomed. Wilson Creative now had a team of 4, plus a real office. We helped startups and small firms access agency-level marketing. Things with Michael grew stronger too. 6 months in, he moved in, bringing drawings and jazz records. We built rituals: Sunday brunch, midweek cooking fails, Friday film debates. Even the Riverside community began to feel like family. Jasmine, Robert, Elaine, and others became the support system I'd never had growing up. We shared holidays, looked out for each other, and built the warm community I'd always longed for. On Dad's death anniversary, I visited his grave alone in the soft morning light. You were right about all of it, I whispered, about them, about what I'd need. I think you'd be proud, not just of my success, but how I finally value myself like you did. A soft breeze stirred the trees. I imagined it was him answering back. That night, I hosted dinner. Michael made pasta and I set the table for 8. Laughter and stories filled the apartment. Looking around, I realized family isn't blood. It's kindness, respect, and care. These friends, though new, had shown me more love than Connor and Brianna ever did. When Michael toasted my growing business, I felt everything had come full circle. The betrayal that started with my things tossed on the lawn had led me here, home. Losing what I thought was family gave me room to build something real. It hadn't been easy. Grief and fear came often, but now, surrounded by true connection, I knew healing didn't mean forgetting, but learning from it to build better. Dad's gift wasn't the apartment, it was the wisdom to know when to walk away. That wisdom now shaped my choices in work, love, and life. Surrounded by smiles, I felt deep gratitude for the struggle and the peace it led to. Sometimes you have to lose what you thought you needed to find what you truly deserve. Have you ever had to rebuild from betrayal? How did you find the strength to move on? Share your story in the comments. If this story touched you, hit like and subscribe for more about finding strength where you least expect it. Remember, chosen family can be more powerful than blood ties. Thanks for following my journey. I hope you find the courage to build the life you deserve, no matter what stands in your way.